to warn you, boy. Check, 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 check. My only thing is Restream. I got to make sure that Restream will actually play OBS here. Sorry, it's gonna get recursive. Sorry. Um, I just have to test something. You need 2 seconds here. Boy, I can't tell. Hopefully, the output of this is gonna get to back to 5 and 6. We'll find out. If it doesn't, sorry, we'll figure it out. Somebody's asking about active versus passive DI. you know, honestly, I don't care, but here's the way I usually see it. If I'm really gonna struggle, I'll take an active DI on a weak source. All right, so I'm debating whether or not to put this template that I made back into Lenore's songs that I was working on, or just go on and finish up what I was working on for Reed, and then because I'm still refining this template, you know, somewhat. Firing this up. I'm hoping I hear from this guy on this YouTube who's been putting the comments on. Seems to know his stuff about electronics. Some of you guys know my electronic background, but it's been a very long time. I'd like to actually see this guy's channel. Does he have a channel? Oh, dude, he got all kinds of channels. Oh man, this guy plays games too. We're gonna have to get him in on Planet Side. All right. All right. So here we go. Let's go. Hey, come on. I didn't know you were a Doom gamer. Let's see. Can I get you on? Do you see a way to get on here? Let me see if I can add invite guests. Invite link. Give me 1 second. Oh, awesome. I have an engineering group, and we play games. Sometimes it's games. Let me see. I'm trying to send you the link to get on here. Shoot, how do I do this? How do I private chat invite guests? Well, here I'm gonna paste the I don't know if you can see this. I'm gonna paste this in the chat. I don't know if you can see that. If you click that, you can get on here. Let me make sure I can actually hear something. Hold on, let me play. Where's my audio? This is painful. Watch your ears. Anybody whose ears just died, I'm really sorry. You're in the restream. You're in the restream. Oh, here you are. Hold on, I gotta add you. All right, let's see. I hear something. Hold on.
You hear me at all now?
See you talking. Let me just make sure I know where this is going back to. Give me 1 second. I had to change audio interfaces, so.
Yep, I got you. I see the meter on the restream.
Okay, that should be good. Let's see. Let me check OBS. Try to say something?
Yeah, do you hear me now? Hello? Speaking.
See your audio. Don't hear it. Hold on. Let me pull up Total Mix here.
Yeah.
All right. So when you talk, it should be on.
Hello, hello, hello. Anything, anything.
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
Good work. Why doesn't that work?
Yep.
Check, check, check. Okay, that's me. Sorry, say something again.
Hello.
Oh man, audio engineers that can't get any of this junk working. It's supposed to be 5 and 6. Check one more thing. There's a sneaky thing that if you ever watched Daw Bench podcast, but Pete from Maryland, the Microsoft guy, says that sometimes. All right, that should be it. Try talking now.
Hello, hello. You got me at all? Hearing me at all? No, nothing. Hello, nothing. Anything? Nah.
So I think you're broadcasting out, but I don't hear you, and I'm supposed to hear you. So that is
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah. There's you,
Yeah.
and I
That's
bet you
funny.
everybody else hears you except for me.
That must have been really annoying for
Why
anybody else that's here.
getting...
Nobody else is here though.
There we go. There we
Okay,
go.
okay.
All right. Can
Yeah,
you hear me?
yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I'm echoing inside of the. So
Oh,
let
yeah,
me
can you-
actually. Yeah, okay, yeah, I am. But I hear you. I just have to get over hearing myself in the echo background.
Yeah, give me 1 second. You just mute YouTube. Hold on 1 second.
Yep. I'm hearing myself in the restream.
Sorry, at the music school right now, and they want a picture of us for a show that's coming up.
Yeah. Gotta do that press.
I think you should be able to mute YouTube and just hear on Restream. Does that work?
So I do have that, but I hear myself through the restream.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Let me see if I can keep that from happening. So I'm hoping that everybody hears you. If I mute you like this, do you still hear yourself through Restream?
Let me check. No, I'm good. I'm good now. Do you hear me still?
I do, but I don't know that it's getting broadcast.
Let me check the YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. Keep. I always just count. I go 1, 2, 3. But I'll be right back. I think we just got to take this picture, and I'll be right back.
Cool. Yeah, no problem.
All right. Sorry. Hopefully you're still there. Hopefully we can still hear.
Yeah,
And who's watching?
everything seems good from my
All
end.
right.
I checked the YouTube stream to see if I could hear myself there. It looks fine. I don't hear myself through Restream, so I
Oh,
think
cool.
everything's
So
set up right now.
only problem I would have is if I have to play something in the background, then that would make trouble. If I had to play from YouTube or something. So that's okay. So let me tell you. I'll tell you the claim that I don't know about Jim Lill, but if you ever seen a show with me and Ethan Weiner on it, or any of those guys, JJ, the claim that we're really dealing with, and we've been dealing with for 30 years now, is sorry, let me see. The difference between like all the good preamps, the good vintage preamps, like Neve, any kind of Neve, doesn't matter. Trident, any Trident, there seems to be topology independent.
Right.
APIs, up to say 1979 when the 8108 Neve came out, when the first ribbon cable Munster came out.
Yep.
It is so easy to distinguish from all the crap preamps. Like back in the day when they first were making this claim, SSL was in that list. Oh, it's an SSL. It's a piece of crap.
Right.
A reproduction, like a perfect reproduction of an old Neve, you could easily tell the difference. If Brent Averill racked up an old Neve, took it out of a 8068 and stuck it in a rack, it still was crap. You could hear it from a mile away, and if you couldn't hear that, you're deaf.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's the Bailey, or that's the whichever one of the Mott and Bailey it is. It's
the most aggressive version of the claim. Yeah.
Yeah. And so obviously that's not true. And we had there were several things over the years. I think Lynn Fuston put out a mic preamp CD, and there, over the years, there were a couple little tests and stuff, and we don't know how honest people were about it, because after the names were revealed, everybody was always got it 100% right, but before the names got revealed, it was always chance. I was in the James Randi Education Foundation at the time, and he had the $1 Million Challenge, and it was the same thing. Like you would never get something past chance, and then the SOS test came out, and that one was just hilarious because I don't know if you're familiar with that one, but
not in particular. I'll see if I can Google it, but yeah.
So in that one, most of the people during the test and the forum after the test claimed that they could obviously identify the Neve, and they could definitely identify the Chandler or whatever that was based on the Neve, and know that it was different than the Neve. Nobody could tell which one was which, so that claim went out the window. But the funnest part about that is I think most people ended up picking which one they liked best, which was a different question. Mm-hmm. And there was the Art and the Mackie. I think those two won above all their vintage stuff. And and that's a stupid claim, and they're going to retreat from it. But where they retreat to it is this God of the Gaps thing. Sometimes it's to me, I know Ethan goes a little bit deeper than this, but to me, I care mostly about threshold of audibility. That's where I want to get to. Oh, am I getting recursive here? Sorry. Let me undo that. That's the one that I really care about. And so when you talk about AB versus Class A, when you're talking about like that Marty Friedman album, for instance, I had no business being where I was. I was kind of just fresh out of nowhere, and I was given this tech room with just the most incredible stuff, and I had every oscilloscope and every sound tech, distortion analyzers, all the good stuff back then, and but I was raised in the religion of pro audio, where even there's you didn't question it. Like this circuit was magic. If Hitler didn't talk through this mic, then it couldn't be any good. It was it was some crazy stuff. And I used to measure these mic preamps. I would run everything through them, because I'm fixing them. I'm trying to get all the mic preamps to sound the same. I know nobody wants to hear this, but when you're dealing with the what do we have? The 8078. I didn't want, we get to a point, it only took a couple months of work. and you would get to a point where somebody says, hey, I don't want to use that channel. Let me use this channel. And the stuff would get out of calibration, and I had to get all the channels to sound the same as each other. And, the tests we run, you're basically making them flat, and as flat as you can anyway, and as close to each other as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
And the cognitive dissonance that I had was that I was testing these things and I knew that they tested the same, up to a point, to like minus 80 decibels down or whatever.
Yeah,
and
that's really low. So yeah.
I mean, it's below. I mean, basically we had to get past what the tape recorders at the time could do.
Yeah.
Right. Like with Dolby A, you could get a little bit more signal to noise, but that really only counted towards playback. You still had to get underneath, it's 65, whatever. You wanted to be in that area. And I knew looking at these devices that they measured the same. And then when I tried an ABX myself, back then ABX sucked because you actually had to use hardware to do it. Yeah. And I couldn't tell the difference, but I was so ingrained in that religion that I know it's still, it's just, we don't know what's different, but it's different. It has to be, and,
right.
And then, later on, after meeting Ethan and everybody and James Randi and stuff, and in totally different fields, man, it's mostly because of herpetology, actually.
Wait, what is that, by the way? I could Google it, but what is herpetology?
Oh, it's just the study of reptiles and amphibians. But,
okay, all right.
Dealing with actual herpetologists in the field really actually put my critical thinking to the test way more than than I would allow myself to in audio,
Yeah.
But I don't know if you knew, James Randi had this $1 million challenge where he'd test like claims of the paranormal, and
right.
One of the ones that I got involved in was Pair Audio Cables had these $60,000 cables and the speaker cables.
Yep.
And Ethan used to always say, just go down to Home Depot and get those zip cords and see until you get to a certain power level, anyway.
Right.
And it's like 13 cents a foot. And then he did it with coat hangers. I'm like, no, that's not going to work because you're going to get all this interference. And he's like, how much insulation do you think that plastic is from radio signals? So, so he was right. The coat hanger was right. And after that, I started I got to the point. I still look. So the other thing is, and you even this argument even showed up in the comments of this video.
Yeah.
That kind of, I call it the argument ad cantifordium, and they say like you're only saying this because you can't afford one or if you never heard one.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And I was notorious for standing in front of racks of these mic preamps that I owned. I've got every mic preamp you can think of. I don't know what I have in this room. I probably don't have much. I think there's a 9098 in here somewhere. Most of the, actually, this is so cynical, but it's business. Like, for instance, I have Avalon 737s, right? I'll never give those up. They're not there because they sound good. They're there because when rappers come in, if they don't see a 737, they don't trust you.
Yep.
It's just a business decision. But yeah, so I've got all these mic preamps, so that was, that's part of where they retreat to, is like, oh, well, but, and then now where it's all this God of the Gap stuff where it's like, well, you got to distort them to tell the difference. And I'm like, hey, once you distort your mic preamps, there are differences, just like there's differences in guitar amps. Yep. But, Jim Lill did a really good video where he's talking about distortion, and I was blown away because I didn't believe this. But he was able to get power tube and preamp tube distortion to sound pretty much identical. And I didn't think that's how distortion worked. And then yet one of my programmers, when he was making our soft limiter, he's like, well, no, this is just the same function as you're looking at most of these amps. And I'm like, no, all these amps are different. He goes, no, the tone stacks are different. So the way they distort tends to be similar. And so I was like, you're full of crap. So I said, okay, sure. If that's true, then I can make a guitar amp out of my compressor. And so I took our compressor soft limiter and I stacked like 6 or 7 instances of our compressor, and then I used a matching EQ on a amp sim to make an impulse response to play through.
Yep.
And then it sounded so similar. I was like, oh crap. Okay, sorry, one second.
Yep.
Yeah, down here, this is actually my music school.
Yep.
So we got people coming and going, but I got a studio in the other room. Let me see if that thing is that. Oh, you can't see it. Why can't you see it? Where's my studio? Oh, because they turned out the lights. Never mind.
Okay.
There you go. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
So that's
So I'll say some stuff now. So everything you said, like, it all makes sense to me. It all tracks. Just to give you an idea of my personal background, my education's in physics, so I did the whole physics degree. I'm very scientifically minded.
killer, man.
That's where I got, that was the wave course, and it's Caltech too, so it's not just some random physics degree. So in music, I play guitar, play drums now, record, all the stuff. As far as preamps go, like, my position has always been, I started from the baseline of, like, none of this matters, right? It's like, you can't hear difference. That was my original starting point. Then my experience slowly is, like, chipped away at that a bit at a time. Had the Behringer. That was probably, like, I had an issue with that. It was probably like a line versus like instrument level thing, where the impedance mismatch probably just rolled up high end on one of my guitars. But there's that, and then this is a funny story where I actually have, I think, like, my current position right now is that, like, the outboard preamps matter a little bit, enough for me to notice, probably not very much for the end user, and it's definitely something I can compensate for in post processing. If you, for example, like, said I could never have another outboard preamp again, right, ever. So my experience is with primarily interface pre's. And I have one outboard, which is a Heritage Audio 73 EQ, and the Universal Audio all around for my interface pre's at the moment. Although the one I'm using right now is like a crap one. It's just my work computer, so it doesn't make a difference. The thing I noticed with the 73 is that, like, I bought it, and I bought some analog gear because I was like, I just want to try it out, right? I want to see what it's all about. As soon as I got it, I realized that recall is a nightmare, and I don't want to deal with it, because I don't want to write everything down. I don't want to take pictures and, like, then have to readjust the knobs every time and come back and do everything. So the 73 set kind of, like, unused for a long time. And then I had it hooked up. So I would track random background vocals, a little vocal here or there. And I kind of just noticed over time that I was using a lot less processing on them. So, I mean, I didn't really measure anything, but just from that, I was like, okay, like, maybe there's a little something to it. So that's basically my experience with it. I'm willing to be skeptical. I don't really, dude, if you showed me tomorrow that there's nothing to it, I probably, when I got around to it, would sell the thing. I mean, at that point where I wasn't using it, I wanted to, I just never got around to. So that's where I'm personally at. And some of the stuff I said, as far as, like, the double E stuff around, like, the impedance, like, I kind of use that, like, I don't want to say ad hominem, but it's like, there's some stuff where I see that people don't understand some concepts specifically. Like, there's a different example I'll use real quick, which was the tone width thing, actually, specifically. One of the original videos on that I saw was, I think the guy's name was Gelvin Guitars, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, Will Gelvin, yeah.
Yeah. He was using, so I'm not saying the claim is necessarily wrong. There's different things I can run through in my head about, like, what is true or not, but just specifically what he was doing on that particular video is he was showing the wave equation and saying that mass has nothing to do with it anywhere, right? Or frequency has nothing to do with it. And I'm like, I was educated in this. I took a whole, like, 3-4 month course on it at, like, Caltech college level, right? And I'm like, you're completely misapplying this. You just think because you...
Wait, is that what he said? I think he was saying that the contribution from the Woods mass by the time you got anywhere near it, because the post itself on either side of the string is so solid that the feedback you would get from the wood itself wouldn't get there. But if he actually got that wrong, I can get a hold of him. Well, I haven't talked to him in a very long time. Hopefully he's okay. He was kind of sick for a little while. But he doesn't want to be wrong. So if you explain it to him, he'll be the first one to yell that, oh, I got that wrong. So
fair enough. Just the particular, like, this may have changed, but the particular video I remember seeing, I don't think he was dealing with that. What your version of that, which is I'm pretty much on board with, mostly. But what he was saying was he was trying to do it from first principles, from physics principles, right? And he got this wave equation, and I'm like, you're just applying it wrong, all right? That's not. That's just telling you what the equations of motion are. It doesn't tell you anything about the frequency response at all. That's why it's not in there. because you have to do a bunch of other stuff to get the frequency response. So that's just like he just didn't understand the full scope of things. So that was kind of something annoying. And just as far as like, since we're on the topic anyways, like the Tonewood thing for me is like, I get the like, and this goes to your point about like shifting the goalpost a little bit. To me, I'm just refining what I want to understand about it. Right. I'm not necessarily saying that like, I'm not saying, oh, like you prove this, but then what about that? I'm just saying like, I'm just trying to find out, does it really matter? I'm trying to verify it against my experience, which is like some guitars notably sound different, even with, the same pickups. And I'm just trying to like, as a good scientific thinker, I don't have enough time or money to actually do the real test of it. I'm trying to come up with a theory that like, makes everything make sense. What you just said about like the post being solid enough, that's what I would contend actually for the most part is like to the extent that the body of the guitar matters, it's mostly that for an electric, again, just specifically for an electric, it's mostly that the two ends are solid enough to not affect the frequency response. Well, the specific data point I have in mind, it's anecdotal, but I've seen a second point from somebody else on this, which is the Ibanez S-types, notably to me, were a lot darker than anything else with the same pickups. And I was trying to figure out why. Because if it's not the wood specifically, then it probably is the thinness and the fact that it's not so solid anymore compared to a fully thick guitar. So that's where I was, that's my thought process there. And it's not to say that like Tonewood matters in the original form, which is that the species of the wood, independent of anything else, matters.
There's a couple of different arguments there. So I say that species wise. And I think Gelvin's here too, is that the species, a claim that the species matter is pretty much dendrochronology denial, right? Yeah. Like you would have to get into just saying tree rings don't exist in order to pull something like that. There is a scale that shows species hardness, and man, it's crazy because the overlap was insane. So it was like, even if it's not, and at that point, one of the Roberto Venn guys was saying, hey, look, I know we sell all these nice tops, but even on an acoustic, the species isn't going to matter unless it's so weak that it's going to have a significant contribution. And and why do you think we'll cheap out and use softwoods to make acoustic guitar bodies? I'm like, do you? And he goes, yeah, man, this is pine. this is spruce. I'm like, wow, I did not know that. And so just to let you know, my academic background is, and you're going to be pissed off because I don't use it enough. And when you were typing out your stuff, I'm like, man, I remember these words. I'm the electronic engineering technology. And like I went to school so that I could go to studios and build the equipment that we use in studios. I thought, I'm gonna be building reverbs back then. I had no idea that DSP was gonna change everything. And before I even really got to, I was already soldering everything. I've always had a soldering iron, even when I lived here back in the day, and so I didn't really get to use the electronic schooling stuff as much as the second I could move away from tape recorders and consoles and not have to have a shoe chained to the side of a console to whack it to get it working, the second I could just jump on a computer and get the hell away from those tape recorders, I did. So absolutely. I just let the programmers handle it from then, and I understand enough electronics to fix everybody's junk around here. Like, man, this school. So this school is a school. Little kids come and have all these little kid bands. If you ever see Hawaii TV and you see all these little kid rock bands, that's all from my school. And little kids break everything, man. Like, my whole room is just full of broken guitars and crap. And I can fix that stuff. I can fix the amps and all that. But yeah, like your everything you typed in your paragraphs was like bringing back my education and what I really wanted to do. And only once in a while do I talk to my programmers about how the transistor does this and how a tube does that. And because I'm not doing that every day, I just don't have the instinct on it anymore, and it kills me.
For me, I don't really do analog electronics. I'm an electronics hobbyist. I just remember obviously have the very solid educational background and can apply some thoughts I remember and all that stuff. But like just for me, like analog electronics is like so hard. I mean, I've done some DIY projects. They're just assembly, right? Just like soldering things into PCBs and laying out, doing some measurements and fixing stuff. But like the analysis of it is like, oh my god, like it's I'm like once you go from passive to active, I'm like, what is happening, man? Like, how do you even like make sense of this of the transistors and everything? So I'm with you on that. I just remember certain things, and like, I mean, the impedance thing is just from guitar, because I do remember this. I'm like, I remember seeing impedance. So you're like, oh, supposedly this matters, and I'm like, huh. I remember from my education that like maximum power is on exactly matched impedance, and I'm like, why don't we ever care about this? So then I just went into the rabbit hole and figured out why. Right. So yeah, that's the backstory there.
Yeah, that's funny because so I'm apparently so you're not the only one who pointed this out that I'm using that wrong when it's coming to mic preamps. So
Yeah.
Cole Audio Cult made a video about making sure you had a buffer when if you're going to split your DI,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
because it shows a problem that people don't usually realize they have, and I always warn people, yeah, that splitter's there for a reason, but if you got EMGs, I don't care.
Yep.
If
Yep.
you got active pickups or whatever, but we might have a problem here, and it's because it's impedance, it isn't necessarily going to be the same impedance at every frequency, and so is that why I'm using maximum power transfer wrong, because I'm looking at a flat line
No,
and I shouldn't be?
it's just a misapplication of like of what it's for. That's that's a very specific thing, and it's like I think I typed this out too, but it was like maximum power, like that's relevant for like power transmission is not frequency like fidelity, right? That's just a different concept entirely. Like power, like the maximum power thing with impedance matching, the point of that is for like power lines, like literally
Yeah.
the stuff that powers
But
your home, because like
I
a little
thought
loss
it'd
there
be
is
the
so huge.
same thing.
No, no,
Um,
it's as far as I understand, it's like you can see you can verify this on guitar essentially, right? Which is like if you plug in if you don't as you decrease the impedance of the, let's say, a pedal, however you design a buffer or however you want to try to do it, and you can see this with a fuzz face especially, it changes the it shaves off high frequencies. It acts as
yeah.
basically a high pass filter, or a low pass filter rather. So it shaves off highs, um,
Yeah,
and
and
like
that's why that's why I was trying to apply it, because like
yeah,
let's say you have a bass, all your
sure,
snap goes away if you load those pickups down.
sure,
But
yeah, yeah.
your lower frequencies that have plenty of power are still making it through. But if you would have matched the impedance properly across all frequencies, you wouldn't have lost those highs.
So what you're saying is true. It's just that the maximum power transfer is specifically not about that at all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's
What
about
what what is that? What am I looking at then? What was I
it's
supposed to use?
I'm trying to think exactly what it's, because again, this is not exactly my field. I just this is just my recollection from like guitar, querying, asking Google and looking at Stack Exchange and
I'll tell
stuff.
you that Massenberg
Yeah.
said optimal impedance, but I don't know if there's a
No,
theorem that goes along that, because
no.
it's and
That,
that's why he made the bipolar junction transistor mic preamp things that you
you
I
got
got
a
no
tune, I
blockers
guess.
on. So
So, like, as far as I understand, it's typically like it's like it's an interaction between voltage and current. So let's if we go back to maximum power, it's basically like power. I think is P equals VI, right? P equals VI, I believe. Yeah, yeah. So it's voltage times current. So maximum power means voltage and current multiplied together is maximized. And again, this is for like power lines, because if you lose like 10%, how many gigawatts are you wasting on a national scale, right? So it's important for things like that. But for audio, like, we're not concerned about that. We just like the power of the signal really doesn't matter as long as there's enough current so that like you feed everything downstream correctly. And voltage is what we're measuring for the actual signal itself, right? And so what matters is frequency fidelity. Specifically, why the impedance has to be. It's not about matching. It's more about like the rule of thumb I remember is that the you want the input impedance to be about like 10 times higher than the output impedance of the source.
At least.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's not
But
matching. Yeah.
but
It's more is better.
now, you, well, now you're going to invoke the I don't know what to call them, the audio files when they there is a point where they say that you should have much lower impedance for your microphone than than what you would think was optimal.
I mean,
Um,
like as far as being flat, I'd say no. I mean, maybe you want a different character, or maybe let's say hypothetically, because I don't know if this actually translates. Hypothetically, maybe the power transfer, like maybe your microphone is undergained or your preamp is undergained, and you might want more volume if you want to sacrifice frequency response. Maybe like I could see that, but I think that's a BS argument. It's
yeah, I'm not making the impedance argument,
yeah
but you know,
yeah
even Mackie,
yeah
back in the '90s, said, "Hey, look, we're going to make the VLZ series, and that's the very low impedance
yeah
mic preamps, you know, and because that was kind of, I don't think anybody was racking up mic preamps yet, but it was getting close, um, and that was kind of what people were talking about, and you know, if Mix Magazine said it didn't need to be true. It's just
yep
like all the guitar magazines where they talk about how body shapes change the tone so much that the guy had to use different pickups in order to, if he had a
right
fork shaped guitar instead of a V shaped guitar or
yeah
whatever. And you know, the guitar magazine said it, so it must be true. But you know, by the time I was working in these bigger studios, I'm reading guitar magazines about recording sessions that I was part of, and the stuff they said was just so not true. It'd be like, you know, in the '90s, you had to say, no matter what your band was,
yeah
we didn't wear any headphones. We were all in the same room the same time, all the time. There were no overdubs. And I'm like, man, this dude wasn't even in the country when the drummer did his parts. You know, like, dude, don't even tell me this crap. And you
yep
know, I used to be in the AES. I'm not anymore. I think they've gotten too political. I'd rather they stick with the science.
sure yeah
But that's a whole nother argument. I still really want to support what they're doing, but you know, it's like, you know, we had that organization, and generally they would just say it like it is, you know,
yeah
but Mixed Magazine would just say whatever it was they needed to sell, the whatever's in the back cover and you know, in the front pages and stuff, you know. Um, so how do you say your name on your YouTube name?
oh eco actually
Eco?
yeah yeah
And yeah, see, I'm in Hawaii, so everybody here is part everything, but
yeah
I'm not any Japanese. I think you're Japanese.
no I'm Chinese
Chinese. I'm
yeah
Chinese, man.
oh yeah
I thought your picture looked more Japanese.
people have told me that. I don't know why, but it's yeah. I mean, like if anything, if I had like I vaguely remember my dad saying he's like his family, his ancestors are from like Taiwan, which is probably more ethnically Japanese or something like that, which is ironic given recent history. But you know, I don't even know if that's true. That's just something I remember. So who knows, man? Like, yeah, I just know most recent history. You know, China. I mean, like there's the Mongolian part too. Whatever. What's your actual name? Because I just know he's Pipeline, obviously. But
nobody knows me as anything but that, man. If you go
yeah,
to the NAM show, they're like,
yeah.
oh man, it's Pipeline Audio. But my name's Aaron. Nobody calls me that.
Okay, yeah.
Um, but you know, when I was riding my bike in the mainland, they just called me the Flying Hawaiian. You know, so I was always somebody else. But Pipeline Audio was actually a studio that I'd made with some other people, and I think I put out the first. It was either me or Beam Sonic put out the first like um, cabinet impulse responses that you could actually download,
Oh, really? Yeah.
and that kind of blew up, and so that the name just stuck. Oh, that's from that guy, and it's like no, that was me and the other guys at the studio, Pipeline Audio.
Yeah. It's not just
And
you. Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't just me, but actually I'm the only one still alive, so it is just me now.
Okay.
But actually, I named it. I named it after the Pipeline skate park in California, and actually have a Pipeline Bowls here. It's one of the ditches here. Um, but yeah, nobody calls me that. But so yeah, it looks like you know, we do these shows with different YouTube channels all the time. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I got no subscribers, but I'm always on everybody else's show that actually has them.
Yeah.
And they, except for Ethan, they never have a really solid electronics guy on, and especially not physics, man. Like I think Glenn Fricker would love to have you on there if you can handle him yelling a little bit.
I don't mind the yelling.
Fun stuff.
There's some stuff. I mean, I used to watch his channel. I unsubbed at some point. I think it was the vintage guitar video that got me to unsub, because I'm like, you're just gonna you're gonna lie about which ones you're testing. I'm like, this is like, it doesn't make sense for the argument. You could probably convince people without lying to them. I was like, that pissed me off personally. But yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like, yeah.
I remember something about that. I don't know exactly what it was. I thought maybe he did one of those A/B tests, and it turned out he only did the A or something. And but I wouldn't get mad about that. But maybe it was something else.
Yeah, the particular one was he what was it? It was an A/B test about like vintage guitars, and one of these was supposedly these really nice vintage guitars. And the reveal, I mean, this is great for YouTube. I understand where, you know, why he did it. But as far as like for the algorithm, the reveal was that the so-called vintage guitars were like the crappy ones. They might have been vintage, but they're like completely off-brand. They're not anything that anybody would pay like more than like $100 for, stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, clever, but like you didn't prove what you were setting out to prove. You only set out you only prove that like people can be easily deceived. You know, like, yeah, like you didn't prove that the vintage guitar like isn't actually, you know, like the ones that people want don't actually sound good, right? You just prove that like people can trick themselves into thinking things that like nobody gives a crap about do sound good.
I need to, you know, I'm still kind of okay with that. Like,
yeah,
you know, because the thing is, so when we were making Reaper, I was kind of developing Recomp, you know, the onboard the stock compressor, and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to make a toolbox, you know, not that we had the computer power at the time, but I just wanted enough versatile enough that, you know, to me, like, you know, I've had every compressor apart, and so many times the thing that really makes the big deal on the compressor, I mean, I know, you know, the different topologies can really do some radically different stuff, but man, does the signal that they're listening to have a huge impact on what the compressor is going to do. And, you know, so if you filtered the crap out of your input signal, your detector signal, you know, you a lot of times some of those old compressors, the reason they sounded the way they did is really because they weren't listening to part of the signal, you know.
Right.
I mean,
part they got some EQ in the side chain or something like that, or something special going on in the side chain.
Yeah, and one of these guys was on, I think it was KVR back then, you know, he's like saying, well, you don't know this compressor, you don't know that compressor. And I'm showing pictures of all the different compressors. I'm like, you mean this one right here? I'm holding it. And and then I'm like, finally, I think, who said it? Somebody just said, hey, just make something up. And they came up with the Sula, the Sun Universal Leveling Amp. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And he goes, I don't know. I'm just making up names from all these different compressors. And so I said, yeah, so you can make it sound like a Sula, you know? And the guy's like, that sounds nothing like a Sula. And I'm like, okay, whatever, man. And I'm like, well, here's this setting. You show me your Sula, and then I'll figure out how to make it work. And the guy's like, well, I wouldn't take it out of my rack. You know, I got one, but I'm not going to let you see it. I'm like, yeah, sure, man.
Oh God,
so,
yeah.
You know, it's one of them things. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Make your guitar, but yeah, Glenn is Glenn, man. You know, he does his thing. He's I get in trouble because I know it's their job, but the whole soy face thing on the thumbnails.
Oh yeah.
I hate it so much, and I got so bummed that when I did that video the other day, YouTube automatically stuck Andrew Chapman is the guy's name?
Okay, yeah,
stuck his thumbnail on it, and it makes it look like I'm attacking this guy. Like, I don't like that guy's channel, and I've done a million debunking videos on the thing, but but not to the point where like if I was talking to him, we'd be hanging out, man. Like I'm like, dude, you're nuts, just like all the other hippies around here, you know. Like I go to the beach, they're all there, you know. Those are my friends, but you know, it's not like it's not like I trust them to, you know, wire a guitar or something, you know. But you know, they're not. I'm not fighting them, you know. We hang out, you know. Like I mean, the amount of
Wait,
amount of
just so I'm clear, right? So you're saying that like YouTube actually changed your thumbnail? I didn't know it could do that at this point.
well, I didn't. So I never put my own thumbnail on because I
Okay.
don't care, and but it automatically, I guess, tries to
Oh,
make one that's going to have the most engagement, and so it wouldn't put my face on, it put his face on, and I'm like, man, this guy's going to think that the internet is targeting him, you know. I'm like, so I went and I changed it back myself. I changed it to just the beginning of the. I changed it to something, but I was like,
dude.
man, this I don't want this, man. Like even the people I really don't like, I wouldn't do that because you know the last thing you want to get is dogpiled on. You know these internet people are nuts, man. They call
Yeah.
your SWAT you or call your boss or whatever. You know, like holy
Yeah, they
crap,
are.
man. So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah, it's just I'm just asking because I see like some of these other channels I follow. This is completely outside the scope of audio. Is that like I see like I get an alert for their video, and then when I go to find it, the names change. So like either YouTube is changing it for them, or they do like their own A/B tests as far as who gets the most engagement. And
Yeah.
did are they doing that for the thumbnail too? That's nuts.
Oh, I wonder, but
Yeah,
I know they do the A/B test for the names because
yeah.
sometimes I'm trying to find the same video I watched before. Um, like man, I don't know if you ever watched Steve Terraberry. I know people hate him, but
I've seen
um,
some of his videos. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't watch him,
he
but like I've seen his videos. Yeah,
so he's like South Park. Like whether you like them or not, like South Park gets it. You know, they
yeah,
boy they hate every end of the political spectrum, but they understand it so well. It just it's infuriating. And when they do something, and so when Stevie T does something like how to sound like blah blah blah, and
yeah,
then you know I seen those ones where the actual artist that he's talking about is like, hey, I'll buy your song, you know, because it's you know he really gets it, you know.
yeah.
And so I sometimes I show the kids the Stevie T videos at the school, and I'll go to find the one that I just watched, and it'll have a different name, so YouTube can't find it, you know. And then
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
find it later on that day, and I'm like, man, at least leave the old link up or something.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. Yeah, that makes yeah, like I've seen that in other spheres too. So just interesting to know that. And yeah. All right, well, man, yeah, it's about time for me to get to sleep, man. But no, I'm glad we talked.
Wait, where are you at? Are you in California?
No, I'm in Chicago,
Holy crap!
so it's pretty late for me. But like I tell my coworkers I've unfortunately rock star hours.
So you went to Caltech, but you're working in Chicago.
Yeah, no, I mean my life
Don't
has
give
been
don't give any defense names out, but you know. So, my
no,
friends went to JPL and they went to Emory Riddle, and you know they come from here, go to Emory Riddle, and
yeah.
do some of that, working on some kind of solid fuel something,
No, I mean
and man,
I'm
that's
not in anything crazy. I mean, like I do
uh,
programming work, and I actually doing my current company's so as a music royalty like document processing startup. So I mean, I've worked in finance for most of my career. So and also just as far as like where I've been, I've been all over the place. I grew up in Texas, and then went to school in at Caltech, obviously, and then New York for a master's, and then in Chicago for the last like 10 years. So I say I've
wow.
been to all four coasts of America. Yeah.
Yeah. So looks like I know how to get a hold of you. I think yeah. There's some when I get called on a show, like you know, it's funny. People think I know stuff because I always have a
Yeah.
soldering iron, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the physics like you guys think I know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Man, I go to a skate park every day. I ride my bike and bang my head against the concrete. Man, I can't know that much stuff. You know, it's not going to stay in there. You know, it's going
Yeah.
to bleed out with all the other stuff. So, but I never did know most of that stuff. Anyway, I fix cables. That's what the soldering iron does for the most part. You know,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
that's what the kids break here.
Yeah. If you need to get a hold of me, I mean, like a lot of this stuff, I don't claim any like specific expertise on any of this. I just have if anything, I'd say I just have a pretty clean thought process of like reasoning through like what's probably happening or what's not happening. Like if yeah, that's probably more useful than like specific. I mean, if you want specific knowledge, like I can look it up, but like there are better experts, obviously. But I can reason through like why something might be happening. Like I said, the whole Tonewood thing was just for me. It's like okay, I believe all the stuff. Then the Galvin video, I was like, even with what you're saying is true, that particular example isn't correct. But like, and then the whole I it's funny that you said that he like later. It seems like he may have later arrived at the solid post idea. And like that's I kind of like I independently came to that conclusion, and like that's also actually like I kind of came to that conclusion as a way of reconciling why, like I said, the S-type guitars from Ibanez like had so much less high end to me. Like that would have been like the thinness being the stiffness being a proxy for the stiffness of the guitar. But that was all just reasoning, right? It's like scientific thought process, but it's not like subject matter expertise, right? I didn't do any simulations on these guitars or anything like that.
Yeah, and in that case, do we even know that the pickups are in the same place?
I mean, in that case, it's measurable. I don't have the exact, but this is not a difference that you probably be able to attribute to like the pickup placement. This is not. I'm not talking about. This is me. I'll just give you like an idea of like how big the difference was. And I'll tell you the exact pickups I was using on that particular one. I had this idea that I would have like the most versatile guitar possible. So it was an HSH setup, and the bridge and neck pickups were both lace dualies. So they both split this, like relatively low noise single coil sounds, right? So to give you an idea of how dark this thing was, I split to a single coil on the neck pickup. I'm trying to get like this classic Strat sound, right? And I can't get it to sound right. The fix I end up doing is I installed the high pass filter in the guitar, like the GNL PTV mod, basically, right? The PTV circuit, where one of the knobs becomes a bass filter. So I did a concentric knob. So one of them is the bass and one of them is the treble. I still don't really use the treble. Once I dialed that all the way off, then it sounded like a single coil should, right? So this is not like
It's
1 or 2
subtle.
dB. Yeah, it's not 1 or 2 dBs. This is probably on the order of like 6 or more on the roll off on the low end to get like what's necessary. So yeah, like that's just to give you some frame of reference for that. And I could still be wrong. Don't get me wrong about that.
It's an anecdote, but
Yep.
it'd be neat to figure out why that is but I don't know if did you see Jim Lill's video? I know this guy's
Oh yeah,
new,
yeah.
but
The table thing,
guitar
right?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes. So actually, the funny thing is and this is less about Jim specifically. I have a what do I call it? Like a grievance or a peeve with that. It's not about Jim's video itself necessarily, but what the people conclude from that, right? So I think he mostly successfully proved that like the body resonance of the guitar doesn't matter with the table. But the funny thing is like he didn't disprove or he didn't really give me any information on my particular theory of it, which is that it's the stiffness of the posts, right? Because once you make it a table, the posts are like as stiff as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's like a freaking table, like I think it was like a metal table or a concrete table, bolted to the ground.
And so was the fence caster too, right? I don't know if Jim did that one, but I know other people who did, where they just go to their fence, their gate,
Yeah.
and they weld the bridge to one part of it, and they put the tuners on the other side, and that's for us BMXers, there's a guy who actually made a guitar out of a bike like that, and same thing, no body, and it sounds exactly like any guitar would with those pickups,
Yeah. And that, again, that proves to me that like you don't really need body resonance, but you do need stiff posts. So like to the extent that the guitar, let's say, just to give you an idea of like some of the way I think about this, and I think it's kind of useful, is like you think of the thought experiment in extremes, right? So like obviously if you go to the extreme of like the post is like a floppy noodle, then the guitar just doesn't work, right? Right. And then the opposite extreme is like Jim kind of like the table guitar kind of approaches it, which is like these are two immovable posts that have infinite mass, and that's like kind of the ideal guitar. So it's like, okay, that makes sense. So the question is where along the spectrum an average electric guitar is, right? And like again, I'm not sure. I'm easily, open to being proven wrong. But my hypothesis with the S type, which I don't own anymore, so unfortunately I can't really check anything of this, is that it's like significantly less stable or significantly less stiff than like a full thickness guitar. So like if I were to repeat that video or like suggest something for him to do, it would be to shave off thickness of the guitar and check the frequency response, not the sides, right? Because if you shave off the sides, it doesn't really matter for the point of the posts, right? Because it's a solid line from the neck all the way down to the bridge. And you still there?